Well, today I'm on a bit of a mission because I've just been working north of where I live, about 2 hours away, and I've finished that work, but now I'm on my way home and I've taken a bit of a detour because there's a place down the road here that I've been wanting to shoot at for quite a while, but I've been waiting for the right conditions. Now, having said that, I have shot there before and I've got some pretty good shots, but it's now summertime here in Australia. So there's a shot that I've been wanting to shoot for a little while now, but I need the right landscape for it. So hopefully when you see where I'm going, it'll all make sense. Well, what a fantastic place this is. And if you've never heard of this place, it's called Mount Hope. And right behind me there is the aptly named Suicide Rock. Wonder why it's called that. Now, as you can see, it is absolutely blowing a gale here. It's very sunny, quite hot. So we're well into the Australian summer now. And I wanted to come here at this time of year specifically though, because there's a particular shot that I want to get highlighting Mount Hope and particularly Suicide Rock. But before I show you that shot, I'm just going to go up and give you a bit of an idea of what this place looks like. So let's go. So the Milky Way isn't here at all at this time of year, so I've got to find some other subject matter. A lot of people ask me about this. In fact, that's a question I get asked a lot. What else do I shoot besides the Milky Way? And it's a pretty good question. Any of you guys who want to come to Australia for a holiday, bring plenty of fly spray. That's all I can say about it. Okay, so the reason I wanted to come here was to scout out this location for a particular shot that I have in mind. And that shot that I have in mind is, I'm going to position myself over there in that paddock or beyond that paddock, facing back this way, which is basically facing in I guess a southeasterly perspective. And what I'm going to be capturing is a panorama with the tail of the Milky Way, not the Milky Way core, but the other part of the Milky Way, I guess the tail. And what I'm hoping to do is get a pano that stretches all the way from the Southern Cross in the south, all the way up to the northeast, and Orion in the northeastern sky. And that will give me a bit of a bow across the horizon, and more than that, across the rock. So Suicide Rock here, which is this massive big boulder in the background, is going to be the foreground feature. So I'm looking forward to seeing how I go with that. It's not going to be a really easy shot to get. The problem with this plan that I have is that it's not going to happen in the next, well, not in the next week or so, because I don't know if you can see behind me, there's about a 55% moon over there, which is going to dash my plans for doing that anytime in the next, well, probably week, maybe a week and a half. And even then, there's not going to be any moon over in the west. So then I'll have to wait till next month, or the next lunar cycle. I don't know, this is a fair drive from home. I don't know if I want to make it all the way up here just for a failed attempt. These are the things that you have to go through sometimes to plan our Milky Way shots. So you can see over there just how much of a beautiful view you get from the top of the hill here. So I'm just spending a few minutes here It's pretty warm, but even so, I'm enjoying the view. And yeah, because next time I come here, I won't be able to see anything much. There's a few farmhouses over here. I'll see the lights, but apart from that, I'll just see stars, which is fine by me. Now, as I said to you before, it's summer here in Australia, which means harvest season. Now, if you have a look over here behind me, you'll see the harvester harvesting this paddock of crop. I don't know what it is. It looks a bit like wheat or barley or something like that. And these guys do an incredible job. They work really, really hard, and I take my hat off to them. But you can see they've got a fair bit to go in this paddock. So they'll probably be going well into the night tonight. So when I come back here though, there'll be nothing left of that paddock. It'll just be right down to the bare bones. All right, so the next time I come back here is going to be after dark. And I'm going to be attempting to shoot that panorama and possibly some star trails and a few other things. Let's just wait and see what we can see on the night. So for me, I'm going to have to wait a few weeks perhaps to get those shots. But for you guys, that's going to happen pretty soon. So just don't go anywhere. Well, here I am back at Mount Hope and Suicide Rock. You probably can't see any of that behind me because it's quite dark now, but I've had a bit of a scout around, so I'm just working out the angles and the shots that I'm intending on taking tonight. Firstly, I think I'm going to concentrate on a panorama because I've still got a little bit of blue hour in the sky, so that might give me a little bit of definition in the mountain and the rocks. So that's my first thing. So let's go and see how that can be set up. Now, you may remember when I was here before, during the daytime, I talked about waiting until there was a thin crescent moon over there in the western sky, just to give a bit of light onto the rock here. Now, did I wait for that crescent moon? No, I didn't. I got impatient and I've come back just 2 weeks after, so the moon is nowhere to be seen. So I've had to find some alternate methods. And so that's exactly what I've done. So what I've been concentrating on so far is shooting panoramas. And when I first immediately got here, there was still a little touch of blue hour in the sky there. So I decided to lower my ISO and extend my shutter speed, drop down the f-stop to f4. So I shot f4, ISO 800, and about 2-minute exposures. And I shot a number of those in a panorama to capture the rock, and the idea of that is to get some detail from the light that was still there in the sky from the rocks. And then I decided to shoot, so I'm going to stitch that as a panorama separately. Then I decided to shoot the sky, and I changed my settings for that. And I had tried a couple of different options with that one, so I'm going to see which one works. But I decided then I would create 2 separate panos and blend them both together. One for the ground, the foreground, and one for the sky. So in essence, it's a multi-row panorama, but it's done in 2 different sessions. Then what I decided to do, I put my camera into portrait orientation, as you can see here. Changed my settings because there was no more light in the sky. I didn't do any light painting with these images. So I boosted the ISO right up. Some of them are 10,000 ISO, some of them are 8,000 ISO. I shot at f2.2 on the 1.8 lens and back to a 15-second shutter speed, and did another single row this time in a portrait orientation pano. At the other one, this is one I really want to see if this one works out. I shot with the intention of stacking for noise reduction. So I did 4 shots at 6 seconds each of each frame. Then I moved to the next one. So I don't know how many I shot, I have to look it up, but there's probably about maybe 10 frames times 4, so that's somewhere around about 40 shots in total. I'm fascinated to see how that one came out. So I shot that one at a very high ISO, very short shutter speed. So I'm hoping it stacks properly, and I'm hoping I've got enough detail there to be able to bring out some detail on the rocks up there. So you're going to have a look at those now. We'll see how we went. Well, I couldn't possibly let this occasion pass by without indulging in a little bit of leftover Christmas cake. So I love fruit cake, and this is a homemade one. Oh, it is absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful. So as I was relaxing here devouring that awesome fruit cake and having my cup of tea, I thought to myself, well, I'll get the tracker out. Now, I brought it with me. You know, I've had a few issues with my tracker over the journey, but look, I brought it out here. I think it might be time to give it a go and see if I can get it going. It's a bit warmer, quite a bit warmer than the last time I tried to use it. So I'm going to get it out, set it up, and see what I can do with it. I might try something a little bit different this time, I think. So the tracker is now aligned as best I can possibly do to the South Celestial Pole, and I think it looks pretty good. Now I've pointed it up here at Orion. Now I'm using the Sigma 35mm f1.4 lens, aperture of f2.2, shutter speed of 60 seconds, and an ISO of 1600. I've took 6 shots. So I'm going to stack those for noise reduction, see how they come up. They look on the back of the screen, it actually looks pretty good. It doesn't look like I've got too much movement. Considering my rough polar alignment, I'm pretty happy with that. Now, what I'm going to do, rather than just be happy with just a stack shot of Orion, there's nothing wrong with that, but I've decided to play a little bit tonight. So I jumped up on a rock up there and took a couple of selfies of myself, and I'm going to composite the selfie shot and Orion in the background. Let's just see what it looks like. Now, I don't normally do composites like that. It's not really my style, but I'm playing tonight. I'm having a go at a few different things. So I reckon that might actually come up okay. Now tonight, for all of these shots, I've been using a feature that I have never used before on the Z6, and I don't know why. It's called time. Now if you look on the screen there, you can see that when you take the shutter speed past bulb there, there's a thing that comes up called time. And what that means is you can press the shutter, and I'm using my remote here. As you can see, I've got my Yongnuo remote triggers, which I've been using all night. And if you press the trigger, it opens the shutter, and it won't close the shutter until you press the trigger again. So that's how I'm going to do my shots from here on. I don't need to use a wired release of any sort, like an intervalometer manually or anything like that. I can just use these. I can do 60 seconds, I can do 2 minutes, I can do 10 minutes if I want to. It's actually a fantastic feature. And I knew it was there, but I never really took any notice of it. So I'm going to use it from here on. Now it was starting to get fairly late in the evening, and I thought, well, it's pretty much time to pack up and go home. In fact, the moon was starting to rise just over the horizon. And when it did that, I had a look back up the rock at Suicide Rock up there, and it had this gorgeous light hitting it from the moon. And the car was just parked here, and I thought, why not? I'll do a car shot in front of the hill, the rock. I don't know how it'll come out because the moon was pretty bright. It's probably about a 60% moon. But then I did a bit of really rough light painting on the car, and this car is very difficult to light because it's white. It's really reflective and it's a metallic paint. But, you know, you've got to have a go at these things. So like I said, it's a very playful night tonight. I'm having a bit of fun. I used the Sigma 35mm lens, and I stopped down the lens to about f8. In fact, I took a couple of shots at f10 just to stop that brightness because it was really hitting the lens. But anyway, let's have a look and see if that one came out okay. All right, well, that's just about it for another night out here under the stars. Wow, what a fantastic time we've had out here together. But you know, I was rapt to get those panoramas early on, which is the main reason I came back here to Suicide Rock. Up there in the background, I can't see it at the moment, even though there is a bit of a moonlight. But anyway, thank you so much, guys, for coming along with me on this adventure. It's been quite drawn out. And anyway, that's the nature of these things. It's really late, it's after 1 AM, and I've got about an hour's drive to get home. But hey, it's been worth it. I've had a lot of fun here tonight, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next time on the channel. I'll see you then.